Hello and welcome. You're watching News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna. Let's begin this bulletin with our special focus on climate change. Taking note of the worsening air quality in the Delhi NCR region, the Supreme Court has sternly directed the governments of Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan to take immediate measures to curb air pollution in the region. The apex court has asked the governments in these states to hold an urgent meeting and discuss measures to stop stubble burning immediately. The court has made the local police station head officers responsible for preventing stubble burning under the supervision of the DGPs and the chief secretaries of the three states. The three-judge bench also slammed the Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi, saying the smog tower installed as per an earlier order was not working. The court has issued strict directions to the government to ensure that the smog tower is repaired with immediate effect. The court also questioned the efficacy of the odd-even scheme in curbing pollution in the city. The bench observed that schemes like odd-even were mere optics and didn't address the real issue. Toxic haze engulfed Delhi NCR for the 8th day in a row. Delhi's air quality remains in the severe category, leading the government to reintroduce the odd-even scheme from the 13th to the 20th of November after Diwali, anticipating a further decline in the quality of the air. On Tuesday morning,
अभी ऑड इवन लागू करने का निर्णय सरकार ने लिया है। उसको लेकर के कुछ ऑब्जर्वेशंस मीडिया में अभी मैंने देखा है। उसके बाद हमने ये निर्णय लिया है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो आदेश है उसको एक बार स्टडी करने के बाद फिर उसके डिटेल प्लानिंग को उसके अनुसार हम बनाएंगे और फिर वो आपके सामने सूचित करेंगे।
On Tuesday morning, Delhi's average AQI was 399, as reported by Suffer, with many areas in Delhi NCR recording hazardous AQI levels exceeding the 400 mark. While Delhi has had longer stints of consecutive severe AQI days before, this year is the earliest that air quality has been so bad for such a long spell. Meanwhile, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal held a high-level meeting to discuss measures to control pollution in the city yesterday. After the meeting, several new measures were announced. The Delhi Environment Minister Gopal Rai announced that the odd-even scheme would be reintroduced in the national capital from the 13th to the 20th of November, as we mentioned, and schools except for classes 10th and 12th will remain shut till the 10th of November as the air quality in the national capital continues to deteriorate and remain in the severe category. While construction activities have been stopped for now, water sprinkling is being carried out in an attempt to reduce dust and smoke. Despite this, there has been no significant relief and none is expected for the next 3 days. This escalation has prompted immediate activation of all emergency measures prescribed under the final stage 4 of the Graded Response Action Plan, or GRAP, for air pollution control. This is the 8-point action plan. This says there will be a ban on entry of non-essential trucks or truck traffic into Delhi. Only essential commodities and services, including LNG, CNG and electric trucks, will be allowed. Prohibition on Delhi-registered diesel-operated medium goods vehicles will remain in place during this period. Heavy goods vehicles in Delhi are also going to be prohibited from plying. NCR state governments can decide on whether classes should be held for students between the 6th and the 9th grades. The schools can also opt for online classes for class 11 students. Meanwhile, waterlogging has been taking place in parts of Erode district after heavy rainfall in Tamil Nadu. Heavy rains also lashed parts of Tiruvannamalai. octane Meanwhile, Bengaluru witnessed heavy rains even as the northeast monsoon intensified in south interiors of Karnataka. The Indian Met Department has issued a yellow alert warning for south interior Karnataka until Wednesday. The heavy rains in Bengaluru have brought the city to its knees with waterlogging and traffic congestion being observed in several parts. The Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar visited the control room at midnight to take stock of the situation. He also took calls from the public who were in fact making calls to the control room for help. All right, from the rains, let's now shift our focus to the high-octane elections that are taking place this month in 5 states. Well, the assembly elections for 5 crucial states are kicking off today. Polling is underway in Chhattisgarh and Mizoram. Chhattisgarh is voting in 2 phases. 12 out of the 20 seats where elections are being held today are in the Naxal-affected Bastar region. The battle in Chhattisgarh is for 90 seats. Today, the election in Chhattisgarh is being held, as we said, predominantly in the Naxal belt. The battle here is primarily between the Congress and the BJP. The Congress, which won 68 seats in the last elections, is battling anti-incumbency, while the BJP is banking on its development mantra and campaign against corruption. Polling has been more or less peaceful so far, barring an IED blast in Sukma, where a Jawan was injured. Now, just as polling in the first phase began for 20 seats in Chhattisgarh, a Cobra Commando from the CRPF sustained injuries in an improvised explosive device blast triggered by Naxals. This happened in insurgency-hit Sukma district.
मतलब मतदान का जो प्रतिशत है वो अच्छा ही है, और जो हमने ऋण माफ़ी किया है और घोषणा फिर से किया है, और राजीव गांधी किसान न्याय योजना मिला के 3200 रुपये क्विंटल धान का और 200 यूनिट तक की बिजली मुफ्त देने के बाद, एजुकेशन फ्री करने के बाद और 6000 प्रति माना बोरा के वैसे तेंदुपत्ता, ये सारे जो मुद्दे हैं इससे लोग प्रभावित हैं और इसी कारण से मतदान का प्रतिशत भी बढ़ेगा और फर्स्ट टाइम वोटर भी बढ़ चढ़ कर हिस्सा ले रहे हैं। तो इसमें हमारी जो सीट है वो 18 या 19, धोखे से 1 सीट कहीं भाजपा आ जाए। 15 साल उनको मौका मिला था और आदिवासियों के 1 लाख एकड़ जमीन उन्होंने छीन के अपने उद्योगपति मित्रों को भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने दिया है, और नक्सलियों आदिवासियों को नक्सली बता के या तो जेल के अंदर ठूस दिए गए या फिर उसे इनकाउंटर करके मार दिया गया। तो ये बात आदिवासी भूले नहीं है। आज 5 साल के हमारे कार्यकाल में आदिवासी निश्चिंत होके अपने जो जिस प्रकार से पहले स्वच्छंद विचरण करते थे, आज़ादी पूर्वक वो रहते थे, आज उसी प्रकार के महसूस लोग कर रहे हैं और नक्सली सिमट गए हैं। इनके राज्य में तो नक्सलियों का ही राज था, बस्तर में या रमन सिंह की जो गृह जिला है जहाँ से निर्वाचन हो आते हैं वो सारे वो कवर हो गया था नक्सलियों से। आज सब लोग बस्तर भी शांति को ओर लौट रहा है। तो ये जो दावा कर रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री जी वो गलत दावा कर।
लोकतंत्र के महापर्व में पहला वोट मैंने दिया है और जनता से भी अपील करता हूँ ज्यादा से ज्यादा मतदान करें और अपना काम धाम छोड़कर मतदान करने पहुंचे। मुझे तो लगता है कि मैं तीसरी बार जीतूंगा और हैट्रिक बनाने में सफल होऊंगा। कोंडागांव विधानसभा में जो भ्रांतियां हैं कि 2 बार से तीसरी बार नहीं जीतता, वो मिथ तक टूटेगा ऐसा मुझे लगता है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी छत्तीसगढ़ में कांग्रेस पार्टी से नहीं लड़ पा रही है, इसीलिए ईडी और अन्य संस्थानों का दुरुपयोग करके, संवैधानिक संस्थाओं का दुरुपयोग करके उनको डराने धमकाने का प्रयास किया जा रहा है। मगर हम डरेंगे नहीं, लड़ेंगे, जीतेंगे और फिर से छत्तीसगढ़ में कांग्रेस की सरकार बनाएंगे।
हमारा मुद्दे छत्तीसगढ़ में विकास, विश्वास, सुरक्षा, शांति पहला मुद्दा है। आज बस्तर बदल रहा है। बस्तर में यहाँ खड़े हो नहीं पाते थे। आज बस्तर में हम लोग काला झंडा पहराते थे, रोडे काटते थे, झाड़े पेड़ों काटते थे। आज शांति है, शांति। उनके स्कूल जो 3000 बंद किए थे, स्कूल खोल दिए, आश्रम खोल दिए, आंगनबाड़ी खोल दिए और सवाल उस गांव में मिल रहा है। इसलिए केंद्रीय गृह मंत्री आया था पोटोंगपल्ली, वहां जाके वो खुश हो गया। वहां उस गांव तक रोड बन गया, उन गांव तक बिजली बन गया, उस गांव तक सवाल मिल रहा है, उस गांव में स्कूल चल रहा है। ये बंद स्कूल बंद किए थे, लोगों को 700 गांव खाली किए थे, लोगों को 3 लाख लोग पलायन किए। तो इसका मुद्दा बस्तर में अभी है। जैसे स्वयं मुखा जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी का प्रत्याशी है, उस सलवा जुड़ुम में घर जला दिया गया, किसी को बेटी कोए, किसी को माँ को कोए, किसी भतीजा को कोए। ऐसा लोगों को, पापी लोगों को वोट नहीं देंगे। मनीष को जब एक लड़ रहा है, वो कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी बाल अच्छा सा वो खत्म हो गया कम वोट पाने से। इसलिए जनता उसी को जानते थे, यहाँ के आदिवासी लोग उसी को जानते थे। उसको सीन खत्म होने से पहले हार चुका है।
पार्टी कम से कम 14 सीट पर जीतकर प्रथम चरण में आ रही है।
कितनी चुनौती होगी, क्योंकि पिछले बार अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस नहीं था बस पे।
फेज 1 भी तगड़ा रहेगा, अच्छा रहेगा, फेज 2 भी अच्छा रहेगा और भारतीय जनता पार्टी पूर्ण बहुमत से सरकार बनाएगी। छत्तीसगढ़ की जनता के अंदर छत्तीसगढ़ में जबरदस्त अंडर करंट है।
भूपेश कह रहे हैं कि ईडी मतलब बीजेपी, बीजेपी मतलब ईडी।
अब भूपेश को डर ईडी का इसलिए है कि अपराध किया है। यदि आपने भ्रष्टाचार नहीं किया है तो फिर क्यों डरना।
कौन सीएम बनेगा बीजेपी की अगर सरकार बनेगी?
विधायक दल तय करेगा।
Just as polling in the first phase began, 420 seats in Chhattisgarh, a Cobra Commando from the CRPF sustained injuries in an improvised explosive device blast triggered by Naxals. The blast occurred in the insurgency-hit Sukma district of the Bastar division. To ensure security during polling in the region, a massive security deployment of personnel from the Central Armed Police Forces has been undertaken. All right, now the news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi at a public meeting in Chhattisgarh's Bishampur targeted the Congress over the issue of Naxal violence. He said the Congress government had failed to control Naxal violence in the state. The Prime Minister said whenever a Congress-led government comes to power here, it in turn emboldens the Naxals, leading to increased incidents of violence. Prime Minister Modi also targeted the Congress over the rise in cases of human trafficking reported in the state.
कांग्रेस की एक और बड़ी नाकामी भी रही है। जब जब कांग्रेस सरकार में आती है, तब तब देश में आतंकवादियों और नक्सलियों के हौसले बढ़ जाते हैं। जहां भी देखो, इधर कभी बम फूटने की खबर आती है, कभी उधर बम फूटने की खबर आती है, कभी यहां मार दिया काट दिया की खबर आती है, कभी यहां मार दिया काट दिया की खबर आती थी। जिस जिस राज्य में कांग्रेस सत्ता में होती है, वहां अपराध का, लूटपाट का राज ही चलता है। कांग्रेस सरकार नक्सल हिंसा को काबू करने में असफल रही है। बीते कुछ समय में भाजपा के अनेक कार्यकर्ताओं को हमसे छीना गया है। अभी भी कुछ दिन पहले हमारे एक साथी को गोली मार करके उसकी जीवन तबाह कर दिया। इसलिए भाइयों बहनों, क्या ये बम बंदूक के साए में जीना है क्या? ये बम बंदूक के साए में जीना है क्या? कितना ही पैसा क्यों न हो, बेटा शाम को घर न लौटे और बेटे की लाश घर पे आए, उन पैसों का क्या करेंगे हम लोग। और इसलिए भाइयों बहनों, हर किसी की सुरक्षा बहुत जरूरी है और इसलिए कांग्रेस को हटाना उतना ही जरूरी है। हटाओगे? बिल्कुल साफ कर दोगे? हर कोने में से हटाओगे? हर पोलिंग बूथ में से हटाओगे? पक्का हटाओगे? आज सरगुजा संभाग में कानून व्यवस्था की क्या स्थिति है, ये आप अच्छी तरह जानते हैं। कांग्रेस सरकार में सरगुजा क्षेत्र में मानव तस्करी और नशे का कारोबार बेतहाशा बढ़ गया है। यहां बहनों बेटियों को अपराधी निशाना बना रहे हैं। हमारे आदिवासी परिवारों की, गरीब परिवारों की अनेक बच्चियां गायब हुई हैं। बेटियां कहां गई, इसका कांग्रेस के नेताओं के पास कोई जवाब नहीं है।
In Mizoram, Chief Minister Zoramthanga's MNF aims to maintain power in the upcoming assembly elections, facing challenges from the growing Zoram People's Movement and resurgent Congress. All 40 constituencies in the state are going to polls today. The elections are taking place in the Christian majority state against the backdrop of violence in neighbouring Manipur.
Well, I have cast my vote and I have visited half of my constituency also. And I believe that from the political atmospheres and of this voting day, I believe that we shall be able to form the government. And in my constituency, in the East 1, we hope we shall be having an overwhelming victory. Well, this time we have finished only one term. So normally, at least, they had the 2 terms, 10 years. But anyhow, this is not the most important. The most important is how you perform during your government. So during this, even in the COVID period, we have performed very well, and I believe that people appreciated it, and we shall be able to form the government. I certainly believe that we shall be able to form the government on our own, not of any coalition.
If the biggest of all the promises is fulfilled, then the rest will fall in line. The biggest promise from our side is a corruption-free government. It will start from the chief minister at the top, so it goes down from the top to bottom. That way, if the government is corruption-free, and definitely we can deliver, because this is a state with a population of officially 11 lakhs, but it could cross 13, 14 lakhs. With the budget which is coming in from the central government and with our own, a little bit of state-owned resources which we have, we do believe that we'll be able to we'll be able to deliver on our promises. That is up to the high-level committee to decide. But what we want from our side, one of the poll promises is, strengthening the existing Lokayukta, because we only have Lokayukta for namesake. We do not strengthen it. It doesn't really has a manpower to work. If you want to fight corruption, you have to strengthen it. And number 2 is that we promise that we will bring in the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI. That alone could be a game changer. So we always believe that if your government is corruption free, you can do a lot, because if you look at the size of the population and the size of the budget, then if you have one powerful chief minister at the top who will be corruption free and who is against any kind of corruption, then definitely your state will grow.
Mizoram is a literate state. Literacy rate is very high, and people are also aware of their rights. I appeal to all the people of Mizoram to vote and participate in the elections and strengthen the democracy. Participation to strengthen democracy, I think the fundamental responsibility of every citizen is to vote. I appeal to all the citizens to vote. I think in Mizoram people are well aware of their rights and the percentage of voting is very high. This time also I expect the percentage to be very high.
He is always saying his dream.
This way something also.
He's saying his dream. Then.
But will it come reality?
No, I don't think. He will not come again.
But the people's...
It seems from the movement of the people, the same government will not come again. Because anti-incumbency wave is very much at this time.
BJP President JP Nadda held a rally in Madhya Pradesh's Barwaha. He appealed to first-time voters to come out in large numbers and vote in these elections. Praising the BJP government's work in Madhya Pradesh, Mr. Nadda said the BJP had turned the state into a developed one and it was no longer a Bimaru state.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी का शासन अपने 20 वर्ष पूरे कर रहा है। एक नई जनरेशन, एक नया युग जिसने कांग्रेस का शासन नहीं देखा, वो नौजवान भी हमारे बीच में है। लेकिन भारतीय जनता पार्टी किस तरीके से क्षण क्षण समय समय पर आपकी मदद करते हुए लंबी यात्रा 20 साल में पूरी की है, ये नए युग के नौजवानों को भी बताना हमारी जिम्मेवारी बनती है। और मैं हमेशा कहता हूं, पूर्णमासी को याद करते हैं तो हमेशा अमावस्या को भी याद रखना चाहिए। अगर उजाले की हम पूजा करते हैं तो अंधकार के त्रासदी को भी याद करना चाहिए। और इसलिए मैं यहां पर पूरी जिम्मेवारी से आपको बताने आया हूं। मैं 20 साल पहले एक प्रदेश का स्वास्थ्य मंत्री था, दिन रात मेहनत करता था, उसके बावजूद भी भारत के सूचकांक ठीक नहीं हुआ करते थे। और मैं पूछता था कि जब मैं इतनी मेहनत करता हूं, जब मेरे राज्य के सारे सूचकांक अच्छे हैं, तो देश का सूचकांक क्यों गड़बड़ है? ये बात कर रहा हूं मैं 96 की, 97 की, 94 की, 1994 की। तो मुझे बताया जाता था कि देश में कुछ बीमारू राज्य हैं, जो बीमार हैं, जिनकी बड़ी संख्या है, वो एमएमआर, आईएमआर इन सबको नीचे ला देते हैं, क्योंकि वहां अव्यवस्था है, वहां स्वास्थ्य की स्थिति खराब है। इसलिए स्वास्थ्य मंत्री जी, आप जितनी मेहनत करो, ये बीमारू राज्य आपको नीचे खींच के ले आते हैं। और वो बीमारू राज्य कौन थे? उसमें बीमारू में मध्य प्रदेश का था। बिहार, राजस्थान, मध्य प्रदेश, उत्तर प्रदेश, ये बीमारू राज्य थे।
AIMIM Chief Asaduddin Owaisi, while addressing a public meeting in his parliamentary constituency of Hyderabad, enthused confidence in the voters, saying at least 9 candidates from his party will win in Telangana. He also made a prediction that KCR will return as Chief Minister for a 3rd straight term in office. Listen in.
ऐसा है, वो बादशाह अकबर के भी 40 अनमोल रतन थे, तो ये 40 अनमोल रतन को उतारे हैं और कुछ होने वाला नहीं है। इंशाअल्लाह यहाँ पर तेलंगाना में मंजलिस के जो 9 कैंडिडेट्स हैं, वो इंशाअल्लाह आवाम के दुआ से, वोट से कामयाब होंगे, एमएलए बनेंगे। और मुझे यकीन है कि तीसरी मर्तबा दोबारा तेलंगाना की आवाम केसीआर को अपना मुख्यमंत्री बनाएगी। नहीं आ रहे हैं वो, अब आए तो एक ही बात बोलेंगे, स्टीयरिंग ओवैसी के हाथ में है। तो राहुल आकर बोलते हैं कि मैं बी टीम हूँ। ये 2 पेटेंट डायलॉग्स हैं और 28 नवंबर तक सिर्फ यही बोलते रहेंगे। दिखाने के लिए दोनों पार्टीज के पास कुछ नहीं है, क्योंकि 9.5 साल के अरसे में तेलंगाना में काफ़ी डेवलपमेंट हुआ है, प्रोग्रेस हुआ है, कम्युनल पीस मेंटेन हुआ है। किसानों को फ़ायदा हुआ है। तो मुझे यकीन है कि यही चीज़ें हैं जो फ़ायदा पहुंचाएगी KCR को और उनको आगे तीसरी मर्तबा मौका मिलेगा।
Let's now turn our attention to the Israel-Hamas war.
The following content may contain visuals that are disturbing, graphic, or sensitive in nature. Viewer discretion is advised. This material is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all viewers. Please exercise caution while watching, and if you find such content distressing, we recommend discontinuing viewing. This disclaimer is provided to ensure awareness and to prioritize viewer well-being.
It's day 32 of the Israel-Hamas war, and there appears to be no end in sight to the fighting. Let's give you all the details on what's happening on the war front on day 32. Well, according to the Hamas-run health ministry, more than 10,000 Palestinians have been killed in the Israeli offensive in Gaza, and more than 4,100 of these were children. Also, more than 35,000 Palestinians have been injured in the airstrikes in the ground offensive. And according to the health ministry, more than 2,500 women have been killed in Gaza in the last 1 month. More than 5,400 Israelis have been injured, and of course on the 7th of October, when the Hamas carried out a series of terror attacks on Israel, it left more than 1,400 Israelis dead. Also, according to reports, more than 300 IDF soldiers may have been killed since the 7th of October. Two 47 soldiers and civilians are being held hostage by Hamas in Gaza. 4 have been released, 1 has been rescued. UN leaders say the Gaza war must stop now. Israeli troops have encircled Gaza city and are expected to enter within the next 48 hours. The Egypt-Gaza Rafah crossing reopens for limited evacuation. The IDF says it killed the commander of Hamas's Deir al-Balah battalion. Repeated explosions rang out over Gaza city's skyline as Israeli airstrikes continue to bombard the city overnight on Monday. Gaza's health ministry has said dozens of people were killed in the latest Israeli airstrikes on Gaza city and also further south in Gaza neighborhoods such as Zawaida and Deir al-Balah. Israeli Defense Forces have said its strikes hit tunnels, terrorist military compounds, observation posts and anti-tank missile launch posts. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ruled out a ceasefire without the return of the hostages, while US Secretary of State Antony Blinken repeated US concerns that a ceasefire could aid Hamas. Gaza City endured intense Israeli strikes that filled the sky with large clouds of smoke, while audio of explosions could be heard across the targeted residential area on Monday. Israel has rebuffed mounting international pressure for a ceasefire, saying hostages taken by Hamas need to be released first. Drone footage showed on Monday wide-scale destruction caused to residential buildings in Gaza's Deir al-Balah. UN leaders say Gaza war must stop immediately as, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry, more than 10,000 people have been killed. More than 4,000 of them were children. UN leaders, including the Secretary General, have said enough is enough and demanded a humanitarian ceasefire after over a month into Gaza's war. This comes as health authorities in the Palestinian enclave have said the death toll from Israeli strikes has exceeded 10,000. Israel continues to rebuff, mounting international pressure, calling for a ceasefire, saying the hostages taken by Hamas terrorists during their rampage in southern Israel on the 7th of October must be released before any negotiations for a ceasefire can be held. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said the way forward is clear, a humanitarian ceasefire.
The way forward is clear, a humanitarian ceasefire now. All parties respecting all their obligations under international humanitarian law now. This means the unconditional release of the hostages in Gaza now. The protection of civilians, hospitals, UN facilities, shelters and schools now. More food, more water, more medicine, and of course fuel entering Gaza safely, swiftly, and at the scale needed now. Unfettered access to deliver supplies to all people in need in Gaza now. And the end of the use of civilians as human shields now. None of these appeals should be conditional on the others. And for all of these, we need more funding now.
Palestinians have taken shelter in the Khan Yunis camp as Israeli strikes on Gaza intensify. A tent camp is full of displaced people here seeking refuge amidst the ongoing conflict. People can be seen walking between tents, children carrying boxes, with sudden sounds of explosions and clouds of smoke rising in the background. This Khan Yunis camp is receiving aid from the United Nations. Children can be seen standing outside these tents, waving flags of the UN, Palestine and the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East. It's been 31 days of a waking nightmare since Avichai Broduch saw his wife and young children being taken hostage by Hamas on the 7th of October. Joined by the family dog, he launched a one-man vigil that soon became a daily ritual for Israelis, calling on leaders for the release of the hostages. Take a look at this story.
It's been over 31 days of waking nightmare for Avichai Broduch. 31 days since he last spoke to his wife or saw his 3 young children, aged 10, 8, and 4 years old. 31 days since the October 7th attacks by Hamas on Israel, which kidnapped and took his family hostage.
It's been so long, I'm starting to lose it. I don't know in what situation they are in, health-wise, or if they're being fed, taken care of. So I can only hope that everything's all right.
Broduch's family was taken from one of the hardest hit communities, Kfar Aza. They were hiding in a safe room with their neighbor's daughter, whose parents were killed. He had gone outside to see if he could help stop the gunmen, but they got separated. At first, he thought everyone but his dog was killed before he received confirmation they were taken. He started camping with his dog outside the Israeli Defense Ministry with a sign to remind the military, "My family is in Gaza." Others have joined him in what's become a daily occurrence.
All day, this is what I'm doing. I talk to people and I tell them my story and my beliefs, and I just keep on going, and nighttime comes and I just fall asleep, Maybe I don't fall apart, but I just fall asleep, from all this, and get so tired. So I just wanted them to see, the decision makers, to know that I'm there and my family is held hostage. So whenever they make their big decisions, they think about me, and I think they are thinking about me right now. They can't ignore me.
After a month, Broduch is tired of protesting, but he says views of the war are changing.
I think it has changed a lot. People did change their views on this conflict. Everybody just wanted vengeance at first. I don't think, they wanted retaliation, which is human, I guess, but I hope it ends, it's just a cycle that keeps going on and on. I'm a part of it, and my kids and wife are a part of it. And they shouldn't be.
Israel's military has said it is striking targets belonging to the Shiite terrorist group Hezbollah in Lebanon in response to a barrage of rockets fired at northern Israeli cities. A video released on Monday by the Israeli Defense Forces showed two aerial views of some targets being hit. The chief military spokesperson, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, has told journalists that fighter jets were attacking a broad range of targets, and the military will continue to have a significant response every time Israel is attacked. The Israeli military has said it's exposed a network of Hamas tunnels, command centers and rocket launchers beneath and adjacent to hospitals in northern Gaza. The IDF said, and I quote, Hamas systematically exploits hospitals as part of its war machine. The Islamist group Hamas has denied doing so and accused Israel of spreading lies. During its media briefing, the IDF presented videos, photographs and audio recordings saying that these demonstrated Hamas' strategy of using hospitals as cover and preventing civilians from leaving combat zones. The spokesperson said more than 800 rockets have been fired from Gaza at Israel during the war, and these fell short and landed inside the enclave, killing many Palestinians. Iran-backed Hamas manufactures some of its rockets locally and also receives some from abroad. Israel has for weeks now focused attention on Gaza's main hospital, Al-Shifa, accusing Hamas of using it as a shield for underground operational centers. Israel's defense minister has accused a top Hamas commander of hiding in his bunker while his underlings die fighting Israeli forces in the Gaza Strip. Sinwar is hiding in his bunker and lets his terrorist commanders die in the field, said the defense minister. Yoav Gallant, in a video released by the ministry, referring to Yahya Sinwar, a top leader of the Hamas Islamist group that governs the Gaza Strip. Gallant praised his forces' effort in killing Hamas leaders, claiming we've eliminated both company and commanders and battalion commanders, some of whom were expected to fill in for commanders we had eliminated 1 or 2 days prior.
I have just completed a briefing during which I approved IDF plans for operational activities in the Gaza Strip. IDF activities over the past day have been extremely impressive. Coordination between air and ground forces is shaking the Gaza Strip. These efforts result in extraordinary achievements, including strikes on terrorists and their commanders in the field. Just over the past day, we have eliminated both company commanders and battalion commanders, some of whom were expected to fill in for commanders we had eliminated 1 or 2 days prior. The IDF machine is working at full capacity. Hamas leader Sinwar is hiding in his bunker and lets his terrorist commanders die in the field. On our side, the commanders stand at the head of the force, pressing forward, achieving objectives and leading the forces. We are proud of our commanders. We are proud of the IDF soldiers, and we are sending them blessings for luck and congratulations.
According to the Jerusalem Post, IDF is preparing its troops and military apparatus for a long-haul campaign in Gaza, which will see Israel waging a winter war, as no end date is in sight at the moment. This is how IDF's winter war in Gaza could look like. IDF is providing winter gear to troops at all borders. Close to 130,000 winter jackets have been handed out. Almost 370,000 small disposable warmer bags have been distributed. IDF is creating centers for logistics, resupplies. Makeshift mini-forward bases are being set up. These are, of course, the challenges of a winter campaign historically. IDF has very little experience for a winter season battle. Machines operate differently. In the winter, strategic and tactical preparation for a winter campaign is challenging. Winter has historically been disastrous for military campaigns. Germany's World War II campaign in Russia was devastating. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is another example. But for Israel, there is more to the winter challenge. As we said, there is no end date in sight to IDF's Gaza invasion. Intense fighting could go deeper into the winter months. Winter can slow down the IDF's military campaign. Urban warfare challenges will be multiplied in the cold weather. Securing supply chains in Gaza will be perilous for the IDF, especially given the maze of tunnels.
לצערי גם יהיו מחירים. תערכו כמו שצריך, תהיו מוכנים נפשית. הממשלה תקבל היום
India has sent a second aid package to earthquake-hit Nepal. In fact, the country has sent over 9 tons of relief material to Nepal's Nepalganj. The Indian Air Force has said the overall relief material that has been airlifted to Nepal is more than 21 tons. India's emergency aid package to the Himalayan kingdom comprises medical equipment, relief material and more. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has said this rapid response aligns with Prime Minister Modi's Neighbourhood First policy. India has also extended $1 billion to Nepal as part of its long-term assistance for post-earthquake reconstruction. Let's now get you some news from the United States. Donald Trump complained of unfair treatment in a defiant and rambling performance on the witness stand on Monday, prompting the judge overseeing his New York civil business fraud trial to threaten to cut his testimony short.
Fireworks on the stand at Donald Trump's civil fraud trial on Monday as the former president's testimony went off the rails in a case that could determine his future as a businessman in New York. Trump attacked both the judge and New York Attorney General Letitia James as he testified, complaining of unfair treatment.
This is really election interference. That's all it is. This trial is ridiculous.
Outside the courtroom, the frontrunner for the Republican nomination in the 2024 election again accused the judge and Attorney General of being politically biased against him.
These are political operatives that I'm going to be dealing with right now. You have a racist Attorney General who made some terrible statements.
James brushed aside Trump's attacks as distractions.
He rambled, he hurled insults, but we expected that. At the end of the day, the documentary evidence demonstrated that, in fact, he falsely inflated his assets.
Under questioning about his company's accounting practices, Trump repeatedly clashed with Judge Arthur Engoron, who at one point told the former president, quote, "This is not a political rally. This is a courtroom." At one point, Engoron warned that he might remove Trump from the witness stand if he did not answer questions directly, asking one of Trump's attorneys, quote, "Can you control your client?" After clashing with the judge, Trump left the courtroom for a break, gesturing as if he was zipping his lips. Engoron has fined Trump $15,000 for twice violating a limited gag order that prevents him from criticizing court staff. The judge has already ruled that Trump's property estimates were fraudulent and will decide whether to impose hundreds of millions of dollars in fines and other penalties that could shrink his real estate empire. During his testimony, Trump acknowledged that his company did not provide accurate estimates of various property assets. But he said that should not matter because the estimates included language saying they might not be accurate and that the banks did not take them seriously. New York state lawyers argued in their lawsuit that the estimates were pumped up and misled lenders and insurers, earning Trump $100 million and exaggerating his wealth by $2 billion. The trial was originally scheduled to run through early December, but could wrap up sooner as the state calls its final witnesses. Trump's daughter Ivanka is due to testify on Wednesday, though she is not a defendant in the case.
Facebook owner Meta is barring political campaigns and advertisers in other regulated industries from using its new generative AI advertising products, denying access to tools that lawmakers have warned could turbocharge the spread of election misinformation. Here's a report.
Facebook parent Meta says it's banning political advertisers from using its new generative AI advertising tools. That's according to a company spokesperson Monday. With less than a year now until the US general election, Meta's move aims to cut off campaigns' access to tools that may turbocharge the spread of election misinformation on the world's second biggest platform for digital ads. Meta's generative AI ad products and virtual assistants, which can instantly create backgrounds, image adjustments, and ad copy in response to text prompts, were made available to a small group of advertisers in the spring. And a month ago, Meta expanded access to more advertisers. By barring access to it for political advertisers, Meta has made one of the industry's most significant AI-related policy choices related to political ads. As so far little has been said by big tech giants about safeguards on generative AI ad products released in recent months. Meta's top policy executive Nick Clegg said last month the use of generative AI in political advertising was, quote, clearly an area where we need to update our rules. He warned tech could be used to interfere in upcoming elections in 2024, especially content that moves from one platform to another. Meta's rival Alphabet's Google rolled out a similar image customizing generative AI ad tool last week. It says it plans to keep politics out by blocking a list of political keywords from being used as prompts.
Well, that's all the time we have on this show. If you have been, thanks so much for watching, but do stay tuned to News9 Live.
ChatGPT. It can generate codes and human-like responses through text, write stories, and do a lot more.
I work in a newsroom with anchors, researchers and scriptwriters,